Welcome to another episode, everyone. Lil Draws, Big U's brother, was murdered by Timothy McGhee, a so-called serial killer, while doing security work, bodyguard work for the rapper Corrupt. This individual here says that he was essentially backdoored, that he did not have to die that day, that individuals that he was with, Lil Draws, Big U's brother, closed the door on him, locked him out when the shooter came through. Not only did they lock him out by closing the door, they also put a vending machine by the door to stop the shooter and the killer from coming in. Many people will say that this is instinctual to self-preservation to save your life. Someone comes through shooting, you duck behind something, try to close the door. It's just a natural instinct. Nevertheless, he says that it is their fault that Lil Draws is dead, not the shooter. This, of course, is none other than Whack 100. Let's get into it.
Well, one of my Vlad TV YouTube members, Rough Sports 170, brought up an interesting story which you may or may not be familiar with. It is about the murder of Big U's younger brother, Dwayne Dupree, aka Draws. You know about this?
At the studio?
He was killed by a guy named Timothy Joseph McGhee, aka the Monster of Atwater.
Echo Park, right?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But Draws was the bodyguard for Corrupt.
No, he's from Tunerville, not from Echo Park. He's from Tunerville, Timothy McGhee.
At the time, and he was shot and killed in 1999 outside a music studio in LA.
They tried to blame DMX.
Echo Park, you're right. It happened outside Echo Sounds Music Studio in Atwater Village.
Yeah, they tried to blame DMX.
DMX?
Yeah, they tried to blame DMX back then. Yeah, because they say the shooters allegedly, their first story was they came through on the bikes, so they was thinking some Rough Rider stuff, but...
Well, let me tell you about Timothy Joseph McGhee. He's responsible for at least 12 homicides from 1997 to 2001, 3 of which led to convictions. He's also a suspect in at least 10 attempted murders, 4 of which led to convictions. In 2018, the LA Times named McGhee one of the top 20 most notorious killers in the history of California.
Mexican dude, right?
Mexican dude, yeah. He looks kind of white, but yeah, I guess he's Mexican.
Well, here go the thing. You know, I'm gonna be
he's
real.
part of the Tunerville gang.
He wasn't targeted. And I'm gonna say this. I don't put his murder on McGhee. I put his murder on the punk motherfuckers who locked Lil Draws outside. On the people who pushed that vending machine in front of that door.
Oh.
So if y'all gonna talk about it, talk about it. You understand what I'm saying? McGhee did what he was supposed to do, right? Lil Draws just happened to be there with Corrupt. And if people, you know, wouldn't have did certain things, the brother could have made it into safety, as everybody else did. You get what I'm saying? So this is what I mean to the youngsters. They talk that talk, they walk that walk. But when they come down to it, they gonna be just as nervous and scared as you are. Don't believe it, go the other way. So yeah, if they gonna talk about it, yeah, McGhee was the shooter. Who his target was, who knows? But I will tell you this. He had more action at this young man because people that look like him who was there closed that door and pushed that vending machine in front of him. Those are the people who should be held accountable. They know who they are.
Well, what's crazy is that this year, McGhee's murder convictions and
I'm just curious as to what you all think about that, what Whack 100 had to say so far. That Lil Draws, he said that the killer, essentially did nothing wrong, that he did what he was supposed to do. He did what he came to do. But that the people who need to be held accountable, the people who are at fault for Lil Draws, Big U's brother, being murdered, are the people that look like him, the people that were with him, that closed the door on him, shut the door on him when this individual came through shooting. Shut the door on him and said, fend for yourself, left him out there, dude gunned him down. Whack 100 says it's their fault, not the shooter's fault. Just curious as to what you all think about that. Again, I'm going to assume, and just common sense dictates to me, that the natural reaction to someone coming through shooting would be for individuals to run, duck, hide, shut doors, shut windows, and everything else. But of course, if your loved one is stuck out there, you try to do a head count, account for everyone and say, well, where's Lil Draws at? Well, he's still out there. Then what do you do then? Do you open the door and go out there where you hear all of the shooting? Particularly if you don't have a weapon and try to grab them? Or, how does this happen? Because again, as we hear, Whack 100 says that it's their fault, that they need to be held accountable. I don't know. That's a tough one. They didn't kill him, and I'm sure they did not want him to die. They were just trying to save their own lives in the process of this tragedy. It's a traumatic situation. Someone coming through shooting. You don't know what's going on, what to do, how to react. You're not necessarily prepared for something like this. Even someone from the street, even if you have a weapon, it's still a traumatic situation. So it's hard to blame the people who took flight trying to save themselves and save their lives, particularly if they didn't have a weapon to defend themselves and fire back with. I don't know. Again, let me know what you think, though.
Death penalty were overturned because a juror was improperly dismissed during deliberations. Although they say that he's going to be retried. But he was on death row at one point, then Newsom ended up not doing any more death penalties. So
went to the yard.
So he got moved to San Quentin. He got moved from San Quentin death row to general population Salinas.
Gotcha.
So, listen, they compared this guy to Charles Manson, the Golden State Killer, and the Night Stalker. This is how deadly this guy was, or is. He's still alive. Right. He tried to kill cops. What exactly is the story with this guy? Have you heard about him?
Yo, you got to remember, he come from that era. That's the late 80s, 90s era, bro. And that's why I tell a lot of these youngsters who be popping it, I'm like, yo, bro, the things you doing because of the myths and stories you heard from those before you. And I don't know why they think that people have forgotten how to do what they know how to do. It's a struggle with me daily, to ignore a lot of things because I come from that era. And in that era, getting busy was norm. It wasn't a surprise that these dudes did that. Back then, the police and the police helicopters and gun fights in the middle of the street and kicking doors in and it was a normal thing. So he was gangbanging. That's what gangbanging was back then. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Your enemies over there, go get them. Your job is to get rid of your enemies. You get what I'm saying? And he was gangbanging.
Right. So Timothy McGhee was the leader of Tunerville, a.k.a. Tunerville Reefa 13.
Says who?
Says the internet.
Says the law enforcement. Because they want him to be the leader, because classifying him as the leader says that we can give him a little more time. And you know what I mean? I don't know him, but I'm never going to say, yo, that dude's the leader, because it's many different facets that make up a gang. Some people got more say-so than others. You get what I'm saying? So, I don't think any of his homeboys came out and said he's the leader. If he got that type of reputation, none of his homies is going to come out and say he's the leader. That's coming from law enforcement.
Well, yes, of course, no one's going to come out and say that he's the leader, nor should they come out and say that. Okay, there you have it. Let me know what you think in the comments again. Tough situation. Whack 100 believes that the people responsible for Lil Draws' death is not the individual that pulled the trigger. He specifically said that he's not at fault, that he just did what he came to do. Apparently, if I recall correctly, he was gunning for corrupt Timothy McGhee, who was found guilty of this and many other murders, was gunning for Corrupt over some dispute or what have you, and ended up unaliving Big U's brother, who was their bodyguard and doing some sort of security work for Corrupt. And apparently this individual shot up, being shot at, was trying to get inside of a door, the same door that everyone else had run into. And according to Wack and perhaps reports and evidence, they closed the door on him. Or closed the door at some point. They probably thought everyone was in there. Everyone in here, and they closed the door. So as not to let the shooter in also. I don't know. It's a tough situation to be in. Now you're being blamed for this death, and you didn't really pull a trigger. I mean, you didn't pull a trigger, and you didn't want the man to die. But because he died on your watch, some people are going to look at you suspiciously and say, how come you didn't do more? How come you didn't save this individual, particularly if you closed the door on him? Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay safe and stay free, people.